Good morning. The morning break. It is Tuesday, October 7th, 2025. And man, it is good to be here. I know some of you know this, but there's probably still a lot out there that don't. We started the morning break just a little over a month ago. It was about 7 weeks ago, and when we started doing the show, is once a week on radio. It's 8 weeks. It's 8 weeks. I just looked at the date. It was 8 weeks ago, and we started as a half hour once a week on one of my radio stations that I own, and now here we are, Monday through Wednesday, 10:30 a.m. Eastern time, the morning break. It is good to be here and doing this. And I was talking with somebody yesterday, and I wanted to share this. You feel better, like I knew God wanted me to do this. Like God had a plan for this a long time ago, and I resisted doing it. I resisted. I don't know. I didn't want to do it, and I just was like, nobody's gonna want to watch. Which, thank you so much over this last week. Biggest week last week we've ever had on the show. Of course, again, what are we, like 7 weeks, six weeks into it being video? But it was the biggest week. Thank you so much last week. And it's humbling to see, and so much going on in the world I wanted to talk about. But first and foremost, did you watch last night's game, Jags and the Chiefs? Trevor Lawrence, they're going to have to call him Houdini. He falls down. If you haven't seen the play, go search for the clip. He falls down, of course, in the NFL, legal if nobody touched him, which he recognized immediately. Nobody had touched him. He gets up, and what looks now, it's just a train wreck play. And somehow he gets into the end zone. Chiefs lose on that play. Tough loss for the Chiefs, who had you kind of sensed they were putting it back together again, but you don't know. And anyway, so Jags win. Trevor Lawrence, who's super talented, man. I remember him at Clemson, and just has had terrible luck with coaches. I think they're locked in though, and good for them. Good for the Jags. Good to see them doing better. I think that's one of those teams you kind of go, man, I kind of feel sorry for them. Hey, listen, a couple other things I wanted to talk about today. One, if you haven't listened, our brand new podcast, Kristen and I do a podcast and we drop it on Mondays. Our new podcast came out yesterday. Interesting topic. We talk about worry, something I am very familiar with. My mom called me her little worry wart. You'll have to listen to the podcast as we talk about worry, what God has to say about worry, and what we as Christians need to do when worry overtakes us. Hey, it is, by the way, today is National Frappe Day. Of course, frappes are an iced coffee, and a little different. Everybody's got different ones. Frappuccino, of course, is Starbucks, but frappe is pretty much everybody else, including McDonald's. Have you ever had one from McDonald's? I have done it a couple of times, and to me, honestly, it tastes kind of like their milkshake, to be completely honest with you. But today is National Frappe Day, so you want to go out and do that. Now, you can do frappe yourself. You don't have to go out and order. In fact, the great folks at 7 Weeks Coffee, who are one of our sponsors here, they have great coffees. They do small batch roasting. Now, if you're not familiar with small batch roasting, here's the deal. I am a coffee snob. I have had coffee since I was a kid. And I was 6 years old. We talked about that. And so I know good coffee from bad coffee. And I know when something is amazing. There's a coffee place in Columbus, Indiana. If you follow me on Instagram, every time we go there, I've got to get coffee from there. It's not convenient though, because it's 6 hours away. So instead, my wife found 7 weeks coffee. And not only did she find them for me, but then she started reading their mission and what they do and what they believe. And she was like, we need to get in contact with those and those folks at 7 weeks coffee. And we did. My wife ordered coffee even before we were connected with them, as far as them being a great sponsor of the Abundant TV network. And I will tell you this, it is incredible. Now, here's what I would recommend you do. Get the variety pack. That's 4 different coffees. Now, you can get them as whole bean or ground or in the K cup. Now, I'm going to tell you something about this. Their coffee is incredible. It is fresh, and definitely you need to do it. Now, what I have done is I get whole bean coffee. I've got a grinder. It makes me feel like I'm working during my morning, especially, though I do it throughout the day. And I grind coffee, and then I've gotten this thing from Amazon for my Keurig that I can put fresh coffee in there. Now, let me tell you, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, this was a game changer for me. It was seriously a game changer because now I have fresh coffee in a K cup form. I like my coffee hot. When you do it in a coffee, in a big pot, and you're the only one drinking, it can take you, all day to drink a full pot of coffee. Maybe not. Sometimes about 2 o'clock, I was making a second pot. But this way, I can get my coffee brewed using the K cup thing, and also uh doing that and getting the coffee from 7 weeks coffee. Now, remember, when you go to 7weekscoffee.com, use the promo code ATV10 when you order. Final thing of the day, Detroit Tigers, Seattle Mariners. Today, though, and I live not that far from Detroit. I live in Ohio, but not that far from Detroit. It's looking dicey out there right now. They say there could be possible rain delays. Game 3 of the round, and man, this is a tough one. We got to do this. Blue Jays looking to sweep the Yankees. That's your AL look at the playoffs, and of course, we already know the Dodgers are in for the next round, and so it looks interesting on that side. Anyway, when we come back, we have got one of our more popular guests here on the show. Dr. Trudy's going to be with us, but remember, before the day gets away from you, okay? Before the afternoon gets away and you get busy, remember, order some great coffee from 7 Weeks Coffee. We'll be back with Dr. Trudy after this.
Behind every precious life, there was a choice. Behind every family moment, behind every special memory, there was a choice. A life of joy. A life that is beautifully and wonderfully made. At 7 Weeks Coffee, we are funding the pro-life movement, one cup at a time. Will you let your coffee serve a greater purpose?
Thanks so much to great folks at 7 Weeks Coffee. Remember, when you go to 7weekscoffee.com, use the promo code ATV10 to order, and it gets you a great discount. And do the variety pack, do the 4-pack. It is super cool. And to be honest with you, get it whole bean. It is just so much more fun to grind it yourself. Hey, one of our most popular guests, and it's why we have her on every couple of weeks, is Dr. Trudy. Dr. Trudy, so good to have you here, and so good to be able to talk. Now, last time it was right after the Charlie Kirk funeral, and we talked about forgiveness. And I want to tell you this, through the app and through several different things, we got a lot of questions about forgiveness. And we'd even said that when we were digging into the topic last time, that I wanted to bring it back and do this again.
Yes.
And so I want to get into the whole forgiveness thing. And in fact, I got an email, and I want to read this to you. And this is a lady wrote to us, and she had a thing, and she wants your take on this. So it's a family situation, she said, and I'm going to paraphrase because I don't want to give a whole bunch of details.
Right.
So out of respect to her and her situation, I am paraphrasing her email, but she has a situation that she's dealing with, and she is, in her words, it is not a great situation with her siblings. And I wanted to ask you, out of this, like, give her some advice to keep her space safe. She said she still wants to have interaction with them, but she wanted some of your advice. She wants to forgive them, but still keep a safe zone. What's your thought on that?
Absolutely. I think forgiveness is a must. We're talked about that in scripture. But boundaries, setting healthy boundaries, we say this often in the counseling room. No is a complete sentence. And we have to learn that if it's unhealthy for us, then yes, we have to set those boundaries. I mean, God created boundaries, didn't he, when he created, property lines and things. And so boundaries are a necessity when we're learning to forgive, because a lot of us think that it's unhealthy to set boundaries, it's unhealthy to say no, and that forgiveness means that we're going to be in that close relationship again. And sometimes, Rob, that doesn't happen. And so learning to say, yes, I forgive you, but I'm going to set these boundaries because it's healthy for me. And I think, again, learning to say no and knowing that it's a complete sentence.
And I think for people, a lot of times when they worry about saying no, and I know this because I'm a people pleaser.
Yes.
So when I say no, I feel like I'm hurting their feelings.
And you may hurt their feelings. They may even become offended. They may get resentful. But Rob, we have to learn to protect ourselves sometimes, because in family situations, there's some really, really unhealthy, very toxic, destructive patterns that have been passed down from generation to generation. And learning how to kind of, like, I guess, self-love yourself enough to say, okay, enough is enough. I'm not going to be your punching bag via words, via emotional abuse, via physical abuse. I'm not going to do that. And if you get offended because I'm setting a boundary, then that's really on them, Robin, not on us. I mean, as long as the Bible says to do it in love. So make sure you're doing it in love, and you're not doing it out of retaliation or ill motives or an ugly heart, but to do all that we do in love. And I mean, Jesus never called us to be a doormat.
Mm-hmm. And that's, I think, so important. I think we as Christians sometimes view the word no in a bad way.
Right.
Don't you? I mean,
we do. I mean, we do. And I think it goes back to people pleasing. It goes back to that rejection. They're going to reject me. They're not going to value me enough to respect that my no has not a reflection on them, but a reflection on where I am in my life. And I'm growing, I'm getting healthier, I'm getting stronger. So no is just, it doesn't mean I don't like you. It doesn't mean I disqualify you. It just means it's not where I am right now, and that's okay. But yes, I think Christians, no is a bad word in the Christian world.
I really do. And I hadn't thought of it until you and I were just talking about it just now. I was like, you know what? People look at no, especially in the Christian world, as a bad thing when it's not. And
right.
Give everybody kind of an idea, because I love this. I love what you're talking about the boundaries and about, forgiveness is one thing, but give somebody like some good ideas as far as setting up boundaries.
Okay, so if it's a family, it's a family, like immediate family, brothers, sisters, mom or dad, and going to their place, their home, whatever, and it's toxic, and that it's toxic, then one boundary could be, hey, let's from now on, until things calm down. Let's go meet for dinner out in a public place. Let's go to a park. Find common ground so that you're not constantly putting yourself in that toxic environment. If you're trying to build back, then yes, do it that way. Now, otherwise, I'm sorry. Right now, I am working on myself, and I need to do that for a month, 2 months, and then we'll revisit. I'm working with some couples right now in marriage, and they're trying to build back. But in order to build back, they have to set those boundaries, and they're like, I'm not there yet. And it's okay to not be there. It's not the other person's timetable. It's your timetable. And so I think we have to realize that, because we are so busy trying to please everybody else, and we want to be further along than we are, but we've got to trust the process and the timetable that we're in.
I love that. And I was thinking of this while you were answering that question. We have holidays coming up, and I think that was probably kind of what fueled this email. So what do you just say to somebody? Because I love the suggestion of going out to eat, but what if it's a family gathering? How do you, as someone that is going through the forgiveness process, how do you deal with that when it is in a situation? We have Thanksgiving coming up, we have Christmas coming up, the holiday season. It can kind of be a stressful time if there is a lot of this dynamic, obviously, where there is a need for forgiveness or they're going through that process. What is your suggestion then?
Well, there's two ways you can do it. One is if you have to go to the family function, then you set yourself a time. Okay, I'm going for an hour, and when that hour's up, I'm leaving. Or you go in and say, I'm going to go. Now, if it starts to get intense, then I'm leaving. And if you're going with a spouse or someone else, you have that signal of, all right, it's time to go, or, across the room. And so you have that backing too. And they know within an hour, unless it gets tumultuous, we're leaving within an hour. But Rob, if it's too much, if it's too toxic, then you have the freedom, as hard as it is, to say, I've made other plans this holiday season, and I'm going to stick with those plans this year. I love you. I'll come see you before Christmas or before Thanksgiving, or I'll see you after Christmas or after Thanksgiving. But if it's that toxic and that damaging, then those boundaries have to be set. And as you progress with the healing and the forgiveness, you can change the boundaries, but you've got to start somewhere. So give yourself an hour and then leave. Or if it's, like I said, too toxic, I'll see you before Christmas or I'll see you after Christmas. And
I love the idea of that. Would you say then, do you tell the rest of the family, hey, listen, we're coming for an hour? Or is it more just something like you said with your spouse that, hey, listen, this is our plan? Or do you worry about then conflict? I mean, because if you tell the people, hey, listen, I'm only coming for an hour, well, then you're getting conflict right there. So I don't know. That's my question.
Well, so let's just say it's a daughter and her spouse going to her parents' house, and there's a mom and a dad and whatever. So maybe if you have a good relationship with one, say, hey, I want to see you. I'm coming for an hour. I need you to respect those boundaries. I love you. I want to see you. But if things get out of control, know that I do need to leave. And so, but if you don't have a great relationship, then no, you go with your spouse, you go with your significant other, and just say, this is what we're going to do. So it really depends on the dynamic of what you're walking into. I would never recommend anybody walk into a line of fire. If it's that bad during the holidays, you do need to pull back and revisit it the next year.
So my question then, and because this is a cool topic, and we may even go to another, because Dr. Trudy is with us every other Tuesday. Here's my question on this is, let's say you're going through, you're trying to process and forgive somebody. What kind of are the steps of, going from unforgiveness to forgiveness?
Well, there's a lot of different steps, but one thing that I do, Rob, is I give everybody a forgiving forward card. Forgiving forward. And it gives you 7 protocols on forgiveness. And the first one is thank God for forgiving you. So the first step is because we've been forgiven, right? And he remembers our sin no more. And so the first step is thank God for forgiving us. And then it goes on, who do I need to forgive and what do I need to forgive for? And I think that is so important that we realize what we need to forgive for, because a lot of times our emotions get so muddled and we get so confused, which is where the enemy wants us, because he doesn't want us to forgive. So what is it I'm actually forgiving this person for? And actually write it down, not to give to them, but so that you can walk through the process of forgiving. And then forgive the offense from the heart. So I walk people through it and I say, Lord, I choose to forgive so-and-so from my heart for X, Y, and Z. So you've really got to forgive from the heart, because God's forgiven us from the heart. And then we've got to repent for the unforgiveness that we have, because forgiveness is really for us. And if we have unforgiveness in our heart, it does hinder the relationship with the Father. And so walking through that forgiveness, and then go through and, Lord, is there anything else I need to forgive this person for? And he's faithful. The Father is faithful to show us what we need to forgive and who we need to forgive. And then this is hard, and a lot of people can't do this at first. They say, I declare this person is no longer in my debt. So this person that you've forgiven, they are no longer held in a debt to you. And then you go even further and you bless them. I bless this person, like we said last week or 2 weeks ago, to have a great marriage, to have a great family, to have a great business, and you bless them. And then you start praising God as you can for the freedom that you've experienced through forgiveness.
That's awesome. We did not plan that, by the way. That is so cool, because that was the coolest thing. And I want to keep going. And hey, listen, if you have a question for Dr. Trudy, you can always hit us on the app. It's the Abundant TV app. Just go to the contact information, and we'll do that again. I love having you on, because I love talking about this. This is a huge topic. I think something that's key right now, not only here in the United States, but just a world thing that forgiveness needs. I think what we've seen since the funeral for Charlie Kirk has been a lot of people forgiving out of just a need to get their life straightened out.
Right.
And so, Dr. Trudy, thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Come back. It's my final thoughts.
Social media today is noisy, divided, and too often hostile to Christian values, a place where truth is twisted and faith is often silenced. What if there was a place for believers where you could share your story, grow in your faith, and be encouraged every day? Introducing Acts Social, the #1 Christ-centered social platform built to unite Christians worldwide in truth, hope, and love. Share your faith openly. Discover powerful, uplifting content. Join prayer groups. Encourage others. Find news and events from a biblical worldview all in one place. And do it all free from big tech censorship, invasive tracking, and endless ads. Because the body of Christ was never meant to be scattered. It was meant to be together, every day, everywhere. ActsSocial.com, the fastest growing platform for Christ-centered connection. Join us and be part of something eternal.
Hey, love the great folks at Acts Social. It's Acts, ACTS, social.com. Use the referral ATV, as my wife and I we love social media, and we were looking at this, and you and I both know there's a crowded space out there, and a lot of times people that don't see it the way you do as far as your faith. And that was one reason why we so believed in Acts Social that we became one of their corporate sponsors, along with the great folks at Turning Point USA and Chick-fil-A and Hobby Lobby. So those guys, along with us, which was kind of cool when you see your name up there with them. And we have just enjoyed it so much. In fact, the Abundant group is the fastest growing group on there. You need to check out Acts Social. That's ACTSsocial.com, and use the promo code ATV when you sign up. And hey, come and follow me. Follow Kristen. And follow our Abundant group, and we'd love to do that. Of course, October 7th is a day that, of course, still is terrible. The anniversary of the attack on Israel. We are praying for those that are still being held and for all of the stuff going on there. Um, just crazy, crazy thought. October 7th, a day that I looking back on it and just the heinous acts that were yeah, I can't go any farther, but just continue to pray for those that are still being held. And it's crazy to think we're celebrating the anniversary of that. It's just been it's been nuts. And so a lot of other things going on. We talked about this yesterday, and I wanted to bring this back up today because I saw more about it, and that is the whole world of AI and music. Okay, so we talked about that yesterday, right? AI and music, that there are literally bands that are created. They're not real people and they are performing. They've gotten holograms to this. Now, the newest thing that I heard yesterday, I needed some coffee and we'll talk about that here in a second. But the newest thing, and this blows my mind where AI is going and where this whole thing, they are creating a sports league. Now, they've not announced too much about this, but it was announced actually this morning. It is an AI sports league. I don't know much about it. We're going to follow because I'm a super big sports fan. I don't know. To me, here's the thing, and we talked about this on another show that I'm a part of. We talked about AI and what role AI plays. Here's my thought as far as this, and this is my final thought for today. Well, I love the things that AI can do, and trust me, I believe wholeheartedly in using it as a enhancement. I think we all have to be careful where AI goes from here. Yes, it's neat to play with music that's created without a musician. It's an interesting concept. Same thing with a sports team that is created without any, there's no real people involved. The problem with that is the words that I just said. There are no real people. In sports, I cheer for the person as much as the team. I cheer for the Seattle Mariners, but I cheer for Cal Raleigh because Cal's got a great story as a catcher who wasn't thought of as highly as others, and yet has made his way to being the first switch hitting catcher to hit 60 home runs. So the reality is, while AI is fantastic, AI can never replace you and I. It can never replace the soul that God has put inside us. And that is the reality. And really, honestly, that's my final thought. Hey, listen, we want to thank the great folks at 7 Weeks Coffee for being a part of another great edition. 7weekscoffee.com. That's 7weekscoffee.com. Use the promo code ATV10 when you order. Remember, get the 4-pack. Just do it because you may not like the dark roast like I do. Hey, and thanks to Dr. Trudy for being with us. One of my favorite guests because we always have a great time diving into some interesting things going on in your relationship. And we appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much for hanging out with us here this morning. Thanks for sharing this. Man, I was so humbled yesterday. I forget how many shares, but it was a ton of people sharing it off our Facebook page. I appreciate each and every one of you. And it has just been another fun edition. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is the Morning Break.